Welcome, my name is Colleen Tauke and I'm a sewing specialist at Fons & Porter. In this Quilting Quickly tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make the quilt called Path to Freedom. For the pattern for this quilt, visit our website. We're going to be using 2.5-inch strips. We're going to be using 20 of the assorted blues you see here and 20 assorted reds. This is a great way to use those patriotic looking fabrics and those that may not be specifically patriotic. Here we have some marbles and dots and things. Stripes are a great way to be added in here in this project. And then we're going to be using some yardage of a background fabric that's white, has little blue and red stars on it. And then from each of these fabrics, you'll need to follow the pattern for the number that you need to cut. And you're going to be cutting rectangles from the reds and blues that are 4.5 inches long. And then you set those aside. Those are going to become borders. And from the rest, you're going to be cutting then 5-inch long rectangles like these. And those will be used in the body of the quilt. Then you're going to be cutting some smaller rectangles out of the background. And you'll see those as the spacers between the larger rectangles. And then there are 2-inch strips that fit between the pieced vertical bars that we're going to create, and then an inner border top and bottom of a white fabric also. So let's get started. We'll take away our 2.5-inch strips here and start creating the pieces that go into our quilt. So normally a lot of times we'll make things horizontally. In this pattern we're going to do vertical instead. So what we're going to do is we're going to alternate those blues, a white, then we're going to use a red. And this is the fun part. You get to kind of create as you go and kind of sprinkle the different patterned fabrics throughout so that you use up everything. Okay, then we're going to create rows that then also start with a white rectangle like this and alternate color by doing red and then to the blue. So the pattern will tell you how many of these rows to create and how many blocks go into each row. So we're going to go ahead and we will pretend we have some of those already created. I have a sample piece here, and since I'm working in a small area, I've got just a few of them linked together. So here is part of row 1, and I've marked it because once you've planned things out, you want to keep everything together. You can either mark it with a sticky dot like this, or you could use the camera on your phone. It's a great way to take a snapshot, and then you'll know where to orient things when you come back to work on it. Most of us don't get to sit down and make a whole quilt top at once. So here we've done the blue, white, red, alternating down. Remember to press your seam allowances. Most of these press towards the colored bar. That makes it easy to remember. So all the seam allowances will be hidden underneath the darker pieces. It would be row 2. I've got a piece already laying in there. I just want to be able to show you in a minute how to make sure that you keep things lined up as you work your way through this quilt. Now you'll see that the blocks kind of dance back and forth. And when we go to put these sashing strips in, we're going to want to make sure that things stay aligned and we don't stretch, because when we're doing long seams like that, it's easy to distort things. So if we match top and bottom as we put a white strip in and maybe fold and find the center, kind of make sure that you keep that white first bar oriented, centered on there nicely. Then when you go to add row 2, I'll pull this back a bit, you'll see that there's kind of a trick to it that'll make this easy for you. Row 2 laying on top like this, matching the raw edges here because you're going to be seaming along this. You'll notice that this seam matches up with this one. And you can feel that if you've nested your seams and pressed everything towards the darker rectangles, those seams will nest up and you'll know that you're keeping it aligned here. Then skip to the next one right here. This seam will match up here. And that should go all the way down. That way you'll know that you keep each of the rows aligned perfectly. And then you would seam along here and do the same thing then as you work your way along, adding the next inner sashing and the next pieced row. Now we've got the inner part of our quilt done, and you look and see that there is a sashing, small sashing that goes on the left and right, kind of an inner border like this. Now, it's an optical illusion, but if you look at the top of the quilt where the inner white border is, it's a little bit wider than the small pieces that went in between. In order to get the top corner and the pieces to align, we had to go just a little bit wider than that. So we've got just a little bit wider. It's a 2.5 inch strip that will go along the top of the quilt like this. Then it's time to create the borders that go around this. So I'm going to take these away. You can reference the quilt behind me as we put together the borders. Remember when we were cutting pieces off of our original 20 blues and 20 reds, we cut 4.5 inch bars. This is the place where we use those. Now, we are going to be just going alternating red and blue, you can see, along to make the side borders, and the pattern will tell you how many of those rectangles to put together for the left and right border and how many to align for the top, across the top and bottom border like this. Then it will also have you cut a 2.5 inch blue square, 2.5 inch red squares. Follow the directions for how many of those. It's just in the outer corners that you need to create those, and you're going to create that block to sit in like this. So you'll have 4 that are like that, but watch for the orientation so that you get the color to match up to the diagram in our patterns. Or you'll have your own unique path to freedom. Thanks for watching our tutorials today. For more of these videos, visit our website. Thanks for joining me.